Normally when I do these videos, I script everything I'm going to say in advance, and then I spend a long time recording because I stumble over my words while I read from the script, and then a lot of time editing, and then I end up editing things down to be a bit fast-paced, editing every pause until it feels like just the right length. And I end up spending pretty much an entire day on what ends up being 5 minutes of video, so I wanted to try doing it more casually, a fireside chat if you will, although I'm not sure if that reference really makes much sense, but the idea is to do this with a lot less preparation, a lot less editing, and just see if I can save some time and put that back into developing the game. But let me know what you think in the comments, and if you don't like it, I'll go back to the old way. I will spend that extra time because I want to make quality content, but well, let's just see how it goes. So this week I've been working on AI, and I think this is the most difficult challenge I've ever had in programming. I've never spent so many weeks trying to figure out how to approach a problem. And I think I finally do have a pretty good solution. I've got it to the point where the AI can walk to where the cargo is and pick it up, and that's about it. I still have a lot of work to do, but the structure is there, for most of it anyway. I still have to go back and do some things like, for path finding that spans multiple turns of planning to go somewhere to do something on a future turn, I need to factor in the threat map so that you don't or so the AI doesn't end the turn in a dangerous location. And there are a few other little things here and there, but for the most part, I think the structure works, and it is going to be very easy to integrate it with modded content to return tasks that the AI can process or weigh against other tasks to decide what to do next. I realized something recently that gave me a bit more confidence about abandoning GOP. When I come up with the set of tiles that you can move to highlight around the unit, originally I went through every tile near the unit and tried to do an A-star pathfinding to that tile to see if I could get there within the number of moves the unit has or not. But then I realized how inefficient that was, revisiting many tiles by restarting this process for every endpoint I wanted to reach. That's kind of the same thing I was going to be doing with GOP. I had many potential goals that were useful, and in order to decide which ones were the best choice, I had to do that essentially pathfinding algorithm for every single goal. Now, my new AI approach isn't really equivalent to what I'm doing with the movement highlights because I'm not chaining several actions out, but I am doing up to 3 actions, sort of. I'm essentially gathering a list of experiments that are things to try first, and then from there I try all the possible actions for anywhere within a few turns worth of movement. So essentially it's an experiment followed by a movement followed by an action. Plus in this case I can evaluate all the paths in parallel, or at least heavily multi-thread it, whereas with the GOP approach, it might be doable, I don't know, but it would be a lot more difficult. So this is where it's probably going to get pretty obvious that it's unscripted. I have a few random things to talk about in no particular order. I've got to say I've been getting more and more frustrated with GDNative as I continue this. I still think Godot is a great engine, but the C++ integration part of it is very rough around the edges. For example, if I try to get the direct space state off of a world object so that I can start doing raycasting, it just crashes. And I found bug reports about this online, and as far as I can tell it hasn't been fixed yet, or I haven't found any workaround that's known yet, other than what I ended up doing is putting a function on a GDScript object that does the raycast, and I just have to call in the GDScript every time I want to do that, which is wasteful, but it works. I've also spent a lot of time debugging issues where it turns out I just forgot to include a header, and it compiled fine, but somehow because the object wasn't fully defined, it broke something with the way the GDNative wrapper does something, and it ends up giving me null pointers for the object. It's weird. I understand that it's got to be very difficult to make something like GDNative such that a newcomer won't make these mistakes and make it foolproof. So, I mean, it's not surprising, but it is difficult. And I feel like with how much I've been positive about Godot and encouraged people to try it, I have sort of a responsibility to be honest about the downsides too. So unless you have a lot of patience for troubleshooting and figuring this stuff out where there isn't a whole lot of documentation, I would suggest sticking to GDScript. Or if you really need the performance benefits of something like C++, you might have to consider another engine, unfortunately. For my purposes, I think I will still be using C++ with Godot, but, well, we'll see if I change my mind on that later on. I found myself in a somewhat frustrating position with IDEs because Xcode is failing to index my project, so I don't get all the autocompletes and stuff that I want. I get some of them, but not fully. In Visual Studio, I still have the problem on Windows where I have to close Godot every time I rebuild. So I'm switching back and forth. Whenever I want to write a lot of new code, I use Visual Studio. And whenever I want to do debugging of the interface between GDScript and the native side, I do it on the Mac. It works. It's just a little bit annoying to switch back and forth. Maybe I'll solve one of those problems sometime soon, and then I can just pick one side to stick to, but we'll see. I've also been thinking about organizing some type of game jam. I haven't figured out the specifics yet, but I've always wanted to be in more game jams myself, and I figure a lot of people watching these videos would also be into that type of thing. Maybe it'd even be an opportunity to find other people to work with. Maybe you'll form a team, and who knows where it'll go. If you're interested, you can come to the ThoughtQuake Discord server. The link's in the description, or I'll put it on screen. And we can just discuss it for now, figure out when we want to do it, how we want to run it, and sometime in the next few weeks I'll probably have more details in a vlog. I wonder how many programmers out there take as many paper notes as I do. It's probably kind of excessive. I mean, it's also pretty silly that I take notes on paper instead of digitally, but somehow I find it easier to gather my thoughts when I'm writing by hand. And I have no idea at this point if this is a short video or a long one. I'll find out when I edit. But I guess this is a good place to stop, so it always helps if you hit the like button, spread the word, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.